Hello everybody, Jake your resident content cowboy here, yeehaw, and we have Shining Revelry coming out in just a few days, so I wanted to get into all of the cards we know about right now and just give my initial take on them, knowing that I will probably be wrong at some point because we don't know what else is in the set, but I thought it would be cool to sort of break down all of the cards that we have seen so far and just give some thoughts. Let's start it off with Charizard EX. First off, this shiny looks absolutely amazing. I'm so stoked that we have the shinies coming to the game. I am a little worried as to what their pull rate is going to be, but moving on from that, 180 HP. Obviously, stage 2, you have to go through Charmander and Charmeleon, and we don't know what those are going to be. So they might be pretty useful in different ways. I mean, obviously, they're going to be a different flavor from the cards we have already. I have to assume that in any set that we're getting a stage 2, we are getting the building blocks for that, which has been the case in every set, right? This ability, Stoke, for 1 fire energy seems really good. It's, a charging, it's a way for you to charge your own energy with Charizard. If you have 2 fire energy on it, or even 1 fire energy, you would be able to generate 3, and then the following turn put 1 additional energy to attack with Steam Artillery for 150. This feels pretty dang powerful, but of course, it means that Charizard is going to be in that active spot, able to take damage for an entire turn. There's nothing you can do about it, right? There are some Pokemon that would be able to KO it in one, even with 180 HP. So if you had Palkia on the other side with Geo, or even the new red card, it would be able to KO it in 1 hit. This is going to be a little tough, right? The other Charizard is able to do 200 damage. This is able to only do 150. It requires more energy, but this card is essentially creating energy on its own. I think this is actually going to be somewhat decent. Again, we don't know enough about what else is coming in the set, but I do feel like this is a pretty powerful card, especially with 180 HP. But it has a lot of drawbacks, right? It has to be in the active spot and not attack for a turn, essentially. It has to hit a stage 2, which is always tough, but I do think there will be some play with this card. Next, let's talk about Lucario EX. This is a weird one, huh? Lucario EX, 150 HP, stage 1. 150 is one of those HPs that's it's okay, but so many things are going to KO you in 1 hit. Obviously, we are evolving from Riolu. 100 damage with Aura Sphere, costing 3 fighting energy, and it does 30 damage to a bench Pokemon. So when I think about Lucario, I think, man, that's a lot of energy to do not that much damage. It's 100 plus 30 to the bench. There are some times this is going to pick up a KO, and then of course are some times that you're going to be able to set up Cyrus plays with this, which could be pretty cool. 2 retreat cost, decent amount of HP. This one is, boy, and I have to say, looking at a lot of the EX Pokemon in this set, nothing immediately jumps out as, whoa, this is amazing, right? And I think that's the vibe I'm getting from a lot of the community as well when I'm looking at a lot of this, is just, yeah, it looks good, right? But not that good. I mean, it just doesn't feel like that's enough damage to be costing 2 points when your opponents KO you. But we don't know if there's a Pokemon that is going to generate some extra fighting energy, possibly for Lucario. Of course, with the base Lucario on the bench, this goes up to 120. It wouldn't affect any additional damage to the benched Pokemon. But yeah, this one for me, it feels like it's all right. But when I see 100 damage on an EX, I'm not that excited. Tinkaton is our next EX Pokemon, and boy, 170 HP, that's really awesome. Obviously, this pairs decently with things like Adamant, right? You'll be able to take minus 20 damage. This amount of damage, though, 3 energy to do 80 with a possible 160, this just feels way too low to me. This is kind of like a Marowak with more steps but more consistency, right? So it's got the nice ability of being able to do an average of 120 damage, which is good, and sometimes it'll do 160, which is a 1-hit KO, but enough of the time, 50% of the time, it is doing 80 damage for a stage 2 that requires 3, I don't know, guys. This one just I'm really not sold on Tink. It feels, unfortunately, quite weak. Obviously, you could power this up with Dialga and things like that, but the fact that half the time you're only doing 80 when this is powered, it feels underwhelming to me. I gotta be honest. And you know, maybe the you know, evolution lines moving forward, like maybe there's something cool happening, like as you make your way up to Tinkaton, like, you know, maybe, you know, Tinkatuff or whatever, some of that is good. I don't know, we're gonna have to see. Next, let's talk about Pikachu EX. Pikachu EX actually seems pretty decent to me. 150 damage for 3 energy. You discard all of the energy, of course, but it has a 1 retreat cost. It's, you know, kind of its biggest issue is its low HP, 120 HP. But this thing does come in and swing and KO most of the roster. Plus, you could, you know, add cards like Red, Geo, things like that, and you'd be able to pick up some other KOs. So I do think there's something interesting about this one, but I'm not exactly sure what this is going to feel like in game. One thing that's cool about it, of course, is this card is going to pair well with a Wugtrio deck, which I think is kind of exciting. You know, this is going to discard all your energy, then you can, you know, bring it all up and put it onto Luxray. You can easily retreat this with an X speed or even 1 energy on the following turn. So there's some cool plays that this can make, and it does feel like Pikachu right now is not doing enough damage, but now you've got to generate energy for it. And I think it's kind of built in that you're planning on generating energy with Pachirisu, so we'll have to kind of see what that interaction is going to be. Let's talk about Pachirisu next. The new Pachirisu card is 70 HP, it's a basic, it's weak to fighting, it deals 10 damage with Plasma, and you will attach an energy to a bench Pokemon. Obviously this works for, I mean, any Pokemon that can take Colorless or Lightning Energy, but it feels like there's a natural synergy between these two cards right here. We're gonna have to see what that feels like. It's always tough, you know. Manaphy would generate 2 energy, but it does no damage. But then there are a lot of times that this 10 damage isn't going to be insanely relevant. However, that little bit of chip could open up Cyrus plays later in the game. So there are positives and negatives to it. We'll have to see how this combination works, but having something to generate energy for your lightning cards feels pretty good. Next, let's talk about Bibarel EX. 160 HP, obviously stage 1, evolving from God. 4 colorless energy to do Carefree Press, 100 damage, and healing 30 damage to this Pokemon. This is another one where, without good supporter cards, this feels very bad. It's like the HP is nice, but healing for 30 is not going to get it away from a 2-shot basically, right? So, you know, if something wants to come in and swing even for 100 damage, you're down to 60, you heal 30, you'd have to heal it, potion, cape, like all these things, and that's only something doing 100 damage, right? That's not just considering many other Pokemon that can do way more damage. It also has a huge energy cost of 4. The question is there going to be some sort of supporter that would help a card like this? Both Bidoof and Bibarel require a lot of energy. Like 2 on a basic is always a little tricky. Not the end of the world, but a little tricky. And then, yeah, 4 for this EX, and the damage output is not that high. I feel like a lot of the new set kind of feels like this to me, where you think, there are some positives here, but they're not unbelievably powerful, which is kind of cool to see, not ludicrous power creep. But again, there's more in the set we don't know about, so there could be a way to power this really easily. Of course, you could see powering it in a Dialga deck or something like that, but it's just not a lot of damage output. One nice thing is, big HP pool, 160 is a pretty solid HP number for sure. Next, let's talk about Clodsire. It says Paldean Clodsire, which I thought all Clodsires were Paldean Clodsires. Like there's Paldean Wooper, but then this is just regular Clodsire, right? But whatever, it doesn't matter. Paldean Clodsire, 160 HP, evolves from Paldean Wooper. We don't know exactly what that's going to be like. If your opponent's active Pokemon is poisoned, this attack does 60 more damage. So you could imagine a reality where perhaps the Wooper card will obviously poison. If that's the case, like hitting one turn, next turn, you know, with 2 energy, you're able to do 120. That could be pretty cool. It is unfortunate that one of the best cards in the game, like Arceus, just can't be poisoned or anything like that. So it just, you know, you run into an Arceus deck and you're like, ooh, this is gonna be fun because now I can't even do my 120 damage with it. Low energy cost, good HP pool, high retreat cost, and it's weak to fighting. So fighting is just really good right now. Like Rampardos with Lucario is still gonna crack this thing and end it in 1. But at the same time, it is cool to have more poison options in the game. I really like different status conditions and stuff, and it would be cool to see decks try to play around it. This one, I'm a little more excited than most, I would say, than most of the EXs for Paldean Clodsire. But you always could just run into the issue where you're not able to really get this extra damage. So yeah, maybe if there's something that can poison from the bench in this new set, this card is just phenomenally more useful, right? Next, we'll talk about Beedrill EX. Beedrill EX is cool, but also it's a stage 2 that does 80 damage, which is hard. That's just not enough a lot of the time. However, this thing is going to be very, the times you run into this and you're not ready for it and it's there attacking you, discarding energy from you, that's going to be annoying. Really good HP pool, and of course, being a grass card, it pairs with Erica and things like that. I like a lot of that combination. You put a cape on this, 190 HP that can be Erica, that's pretty dang significant, and it's a super annoying, hitting you for 80 damage and removing your own energy so you don't get to generate any extra energy. I think this could be really cool, but as always, stage 2s are tough, right? It feels like if you have a stage 2 and it's not something that can just sweep your opponent's team, you could be in trouble. Next, let's talk about Wugtrio EX. This is good Dragonite, but still not even amazing Dragonite. So 140 HP, not super ideal, I gotta be honest. 3 water energy, not super ideal because you can't put it really in any other deck except a water deck. One of your opponent's Pokemon chosen at random 3 times will do 50 damage. So it's just like Draco Meteor. It's only doing 3 rather than 4, but it's easier to get to, right? It's not a stage 2, it's a stage 1, and it requires water energy. And there are lots of ways to get water energy. You could Misty and have a really, if you start turn 1, hit a Misty, and then turn 3 evolve to Wugtrio, that's disgusting. There are going to be times that this is really, really good. It feels a lot like Dragonite to me, where you think this isn't amazing, but at the same time you're going to have some really fun games with it. So yeah, I don't know. HP's low. Retreat cost is nice, only 1, and it's gonna be super inconsistent and very fun. Final EX we can talk about before we get into some of the other cards is Giratina EX. 150 HP with the ability Broken Space Below. Once during your turn, take psychic energy from your energy zone and attach it to this Pokemon. If you do this and use the ability, your turn ends, so you cannot attack. 4 energy, 3 of them being psychic. You hit with Chaotic Impact for 130, and you also do 20 damage to yourself. There's good and bad here, right? Obviously, if you go turn 1, you're generating energy you never would have got before. If you go turn 2, you're generating energy, and a lot of times you're not able to attack on turn 2 regardless. So, having something that can generate energy on turns you're not able to make a significant contribution to damage, I think that's actually really solid. It does feel like, just looking at a card like this, you start to imagine that it's in a wall deck, right? You just start to imagine there's Drud or something like that. Maybe you pair it with Snorlax and Berry, and Snorlax Berry is your wall, and then when that is asleep, or when you don't have Berry or you don't have enough energy on it, you're powering up Giratina so you can attack. You can imagine some cool situations where this card can do some decent stuff. 130 damage is a little low, it feels like, but it's a basic, right? The only reason I say it's low is because it costs 4 energy. And it does 20 damage to yourself. So without Potion, you are going to be opening yourself up to Cyrus plays, and with 150 HP, you bring yourself to 130, which is in KO range of a ton of things. Some of the most meta stuff will be able to KO you in 1 hit, unless you have capes or potions or things like that. I actually think Giratina EX could be pretty dang cool, and I think it will probably be one of the standout EXs from this set. But again, without knowing sort of the basics and stage 1s for some of the other cards and other supporters, who knows? We'll talk about some of the other basic cards that we saw. So we'll talk about Wiglet right here. Wiglet, 60 HP, 1 water energy. You can do Spring Out and deal 30 damage to a Pokemon at random. fine. Weak to lightning, which you don't see a ton of right now. We'll see if that changes in the new set. Obviously, it's also a shiny, which is very cool. So this is just going to be a really fun deck for sure. It's going to be super fun. Next, let's talk about Varoom. Obviously, we don't know what Revavroom is like. We don't, I mean, I wouldn't assume there are more EXs in this set. There are 9 right now. And like, I think in the last couple sets, it's like 5 and 7 and things like that. So we probably know all the EXs, but I'm interested to see what this card is like. 70 HP, 1 metal, able to do 10 damage with Headbutt, weak to fire. Cool. I want to see the rest of the line. We have Tatsugiri. Now, seeing Tatsugiri, it does confirm Dondozo is coming to the game. The energy on Tatsugiri, it does 20 damage with Rain Splash, but its ability, I think, is the big thing. Your active Dondozo has no retreat cost. So this is going to be a really cool combo. Hopefully Dondozo is a worthwhile card. We'll just have to see what it's like. The art on this looks very cool, obviously. Sprigatito is an interesting one here. 60 HP with 1 grass energy, cry for help. Put a random grass Pokemon from your deck into your hand. This just makes, I mean, you could run Sprigatito even without Meowscarada and stuff. Just like dig through your deck for those stage 1 and stage 2s that you need. Really make it like super simple to grab a lot of those Pokemon. And then of course the question is, do we see Fuecoco? Do we see Quaxley? Are any of these EXs? Like, what does this all mean? It's weird because I thought Paldea could be coming in the next big set. This is obviously a mini set. I wonder if this mini set sets us up for a big Paldea set for the next one. We have Pinsir as a basic Pokemon, 90 HP with 1 grass energy, 2 colorless to do Guillotine Rush, 50 damage, flip a coin until you get tails. It does 40 more for each heads. Yeah, cards like this are just super inconsistent. Every once in a while though, this is going to be amazing. For the most part, I don't love cards like this because we all think like, oh, licky, that's going to be cool. Bing, tails. No, it's not. So we'll see. In the set, we do see 2 supporters. Let's talk about Iono. Iono, each player shuffles their hands into their deck and then draws that many cards. This is a tough one. It feels like sometimes this could be amazing and sometimes it could be very bad. I think this will be extremely inconsistent, but it might help you, you know, in decks like we've been talking about. How do you get some of these fossils out? We don't know if there's going to be a fossil supporter, but this could get rid of all your cards, allow you to draw some fossils, get you away from bricking in certain decks, which could be good, and at the same time you disrupt your opponent. But the question is, you might be disrupting your opponent, you might be helping your opponent, right? There's probably not a professor's research that they're holding in their hand, but there could be another one that they need to draw out of their deck. It's just, I think this card will, I think there are some situations this card will be very good in, and I think otherwise you just won't know what you've done with it, and everyone will think that was either a good or bad Iono, and you'll really have no idea. Truly, like, you could ruin their hand, save their hand, while at the same time giving you nothing, or maybe getting you exactly what you need. Gonna be a weird one for sure. And then finally, we can talk about Red. During this turn, attacks used by your Pokemon do plus 20 damage to your opponent's active EX Pokemon. Plus 20 damage is massive. Cape, I mean, it negates Cape right there. It brings so many more things to a breakpoint with tons of different, like you just think about that Pikachu, right? With 120 HP. Even some of our Pokemon with some, like, not very exciting damage amounts, like you think of something like Bibarel that's only doing 100. Well, all right there, it's a one-shot onto that Pikachu without a cape or something like that. So Red feels like kind of a game-changing card. This is a big one in my opinion, and one of the coolest things about this is it makes non-EX decks really excited, right? Because now they have a card that doesn't really help them at all. And also, like, if you're running like a Sudowoodo Rampardos deck, Sudowoodo is just gonna crack things for like 8 billion damage in one turn. I don't know, Red feels like one of the strongest cards for sure that we are seeing in this set. I want to hear what you think in the comments. Let me know which EX maybe you're most excited about, and maybe some other cards you think are going to be there in this set. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, love you guys, I'll see y'all next time.